years, Oxford has had a tradition of answering the call of battle. We've always sent citizens to defend our country and our town, starting with the Revolutionary War. And all you veterans here today are carrying on that tradition, and you have something in common with those folks. And on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the people of Oxford, we really thank you for the service that you've given not only our town, but our state and our federal government as well. And you continue serving us by being on different boards and taking part in different activities. So the town cannot thank what you people have done enough. The true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but because he loves what's behind him. So once again, thank you very much for everyone, and you deserve this day, and please enjoy it. Thank you.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We had a really beautiful way of celebrating our veterans. We had such a wonderful honor guard with the leadership of Terry Cummings. We had many of our veterans that had real memorial traditional things that they like to do. But the one area that I realized and recognized that we could do better was actually showing our appreciation in a way that also extended not just fellowship, but real recognition, honor, and respect to our veterans. And today I pay that to you for coming here, and with all of your significant others and guests. I want to thank the Council on Aging. I want to thank Laura Wilson, who's been a fabulous senior center director that I feel so blessed to have appointed. I really want to thank all of the people who are volunteering today, the town hall staff, and most especially our seniors who are tireless in making this a beautiful place to have an event. I would also like to recognize our officials that are here today. I consider David Adams not just our veteran service agent and a person who is here to make sure our veterans get their benefits day in and day out, but he's also a town councilor in the neighboring town of Southbridge. And he brings all of that leadership to this town. He knew that I was looking for somebody with staying power, somebody who was not going to be afraid of putting an event like this together with me. And certainly he's been up to the task and then some. And as a veteran himself, we couldn't ask for better coverage for this town and for a better commitment, where he has gone home to visit with our veterans who need assistance and need help from both our state and federal partners. So thank you, Dave, for being such an exemplary partner. We must never forget that the highest appreciation is not uttered in words, but is actually chosen to be acted upon by the way that we live. And so we are here to live by not just uttering words in the town of Oxford, but making sure that we're going to live by the deed of honoring each and every one of you. We thank you for your service. I personally am very much humbled by the turnout of 175 people. You are to be celebrated, and you are loved in this community, and never ever forget that. God bless you, and thank you so much for your service.
As a teacher, a long time ago, I taught my students this poem, and I went line by line and what the meaning of each line meant. But all of you as veterans probably have heard this before. It came during a period of time of our Great War, and it was by though he's Canadian, a great Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, who was a poet, who I'm pretty sure most of you already know this poem. I'm gonna read it out loud because it is sentimental. It is to you, it's to us, it's to our brothers and sisters who are no longer here, or our times of glory. So, in Flanders fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard, amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields. A lot of us have deployed multiple times, and I would be remiss, and I mentioned, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier today, or at the last meeting, or the last luncheon, but I just want to thank those kids, children, wives, husbands, who married veterans, because you know how it feels. You've been in those deployments. I can ask and raise hands going, hey, let's do a workup for deployment. 6 months off, but it really, you're doing all your training. Then all of a sudden they do 6 months workups. You're really deployed, maybe offshore or somewhere else. And then you do 6, 7 months of deployment. And it's your spouses and your children that still loved you when you came home, still made sure that the house was in order. And so I want to say thank you to all of you out there and all those spouses, so thank you.
Thank you for your service to our country and to our community. And I know Oxford does a fantastic job of taking care of its seniors. And I want to thank the town manager for continuing this tradition, expanding this tradition. And I know she's been doing a great job, not only for our veterans, but for the community of Oxford as well. Yesterday was our election day here in this country and here in the Commonwealth. And that's only made possible because of your hard work, because of your sacrifice. Those who are no longer with us and those who are serving today, that made it possible for our country to be free so that we have the ability to go to a ballot box and make decisions on who our leaders will be, opposed to what's happening in other parts of the world where there is no such thing as where a free election doesn't exist. So thank you for your service. Thank you for the freedom that you've given us. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
I always enjoy coming out to Oxford for this Veterans Day breakfast this morning and lunch this afternoon, and it strikes me that it's an appropriate setting. It's a more welcoming, warm, family, neighborly setting to show appreciation for our veterans. And for me personally, this year, Veterans Day has a little bit of an elevated meaning. We lost my grandfather 2 weeks ago, and he was a World War II Navy vet. And while he lived in Arlington most of his life and he passed away in Arlington, he's actually buried here in Oxford, right up the street at St. Roch's. And when he was passing, I actually reached out to Terry and let him know that he was passing, would be buried at St. Roch's. And without missing a beat, Terry offered the services of the Honor Guard. And while the funeral home did do their own Honor Guard services, he reached out a few days after the funeral and let me know that he had taken it upon himself to place a marker and a flag at his gravesite without even needing to be asked. So I have the deepest appreciation for Terry and for everyone here in Oxford and for the veterans here in Oxford. He was fortunate that when he returned home from service from World War II, he didn't suffer any scars, any physical or emotional scars from his service. He came home to a loving and welcoming family, to a grateful community and a grateful nation. And it strikes me that that's not always the case with our veterans. You know, in fact, it's probably not the case with most veterans. They do come home scarred, whether physically or they do come home, and not all of them have the family support or the community support or the appreciation for their service. And that's why we're here today, and it's why we celebrate Veterans Day. So from the bottom of my heart, I have gratitude for all of your service. God bless you all. Thank you.
You know, I was reflecting upon my daughter. My daughter was about his age, and now she's 6 years old. One of the last times I came here before COVID. And it's just amazing how time flies, but I've given a lot of thought and reflection about, you know, my family being young and what you have done in your service. And what you've allowed for is the prosperity and freedom of a new generation to come forward and be celebrated and enjoyed. You know, my grandfather, you know, inspired my brother to join the Army. And we grew up listening to his stories. He told us positive ones. He got a Purple Heart, as I mentioned, and he did that in Okinawa, where he served in the Pacific. He always joked that, you know, he was digging a latrine, and all of a sudden, you know, a bunch of Japanese dropped down from trees and started opening fire, and he jumped into the latrine, as did many of his soldiers, and it saved their life. Many of his friends lost their lives that day, and yet when he came home and talked about this, he said, you know, it was real easy. I got a Purple Heart by jumping in a pile of you-know-what. And but that's what he was all about. He loved life, and it was something that he shared, you know, in a positive way. But when the door shut at night, I remember hearing him cry and the sobs. And he never shared that part of his service with his family. And there's so many veterans out there who feel and do the same thing. It gives us such great appreciation and satisfaction in seeing you here, those of you who have served, because you put your lives on the line. I know it's not Memorial Day, you know, we thank those who passed away in service to the nation, but veterans put their lives on the line every single day that they served, whether it was foreign or domestic, training or in war. And that's something we are all deeply, deeply appreciative. Thank you for your service. God bless you. And humbly I ask if you can keep my brother in your prayers when he's over in the Middle East